welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to demonstrate a super cool card. Now this card was recently introduced to me by my friend Joyce. Joyce is also a customer of mine, and she sends me the best emails with all of these really cool cards that I've never seen before, and I love it because I'm always looking for different ideas for videos. So if you have ideas for a video demonstration, don't be shy, leave a comment below. Anyhow, this is for a WIPER card. Now WIPER cards are not new, they've been around, but they're new to me, and I'm sure that somebody watching, it's going to be new for you as well. So I've been having a lot of fun with this. So I'm going to show you how I made this fun WIPER card. I'm using the Peaceful Boughs and Dove of Hope bundle from Stampin' Up. And you may have noticed if you watch my video that I've got a different background going on. I've got the camera set up showing a different side of my room. This is my area where I do all my crafting. So this is my craft desk over here where all the magic happens, where I have all my fun. And I've got my wine. It is 7:30 on Tuesday night. I've been up since 5 a.m. but it's been so long since I've done a video. I've been busy pickling dills and bread and butter pickles and jams, and I've been just so busy this time of year. I was determined to get a video done tonight for you so I can have it on my channel today. Okay, so I've got all my supplies ready. It's such an easy card. You're gonna go through it step by step with me, and you're gonna have so much fun with this. So let's get stamping. All right, my friends, here is the card. I've already made one of these, and this is in the closed position. And on the back, I've got the sentiment. But when you open it, let's do that again. Okay, seriously, if you're like me and you've never seen a WIPER card, you will be just as excited when you make one of these for the first time as I was. You should have seen me when I put this together for the first time. I was just like, you'd think I'd never stamped before. I was just like, what? This is so cool. This is so much fun. There's so many variations of this WIPER card. I did some searches on Pinterest and YouTube. Oh my goodness, there's so many different tutorials. But the one I liked the best is from my friend Frenchie, France Martin. I am using her measurements. I really liked her measurements for this card, and this will fit in a standard size envelope. It measures 5.5 by 4.25. All right, I am starting with a piece of early espresso cardstock. I've already cut this down to measure 8.5 by 4.25. And along the 8.5 side, I'm going to score this at 1.5. Slide it over to the 3 mark and score there. And then I'm going to make my Z fold. Z, as we say here in Canada. Z if you're in the States, maybe elsewhere, I don't know, but we say Z. So there is my Z fold over on my right side. Okay, and then this is now, when this piece is closed, this is 5.5 across and 4.25 down, which is the size of our standard cards. So I'm going to set that aside. All right, so this piece measures 8.5 by 2, and all I did when I thought the camera was running and it wasn't, I lined it up in the same position as the other one, scoring it at 1.5, and then I slid it over and I scored it at 3. So we have the same scoring as the card base, and then what happens is we're going to put adhesive here, stick it onto this flap, and then adhesive here and stick it onto that card base. So that's the card base, that's the fold. Now I'm bringing in a piece of Whisper White, and I'm going to cut this at 5.25 by 4. Another piece that's 4 by 1.25. All right, this is from our poinsettia place suite. That's what we got on both sides. And for the first cut, I'm going to do 5.25 by 1 3/4. I need 2 pieces that measure 1 1/4 by 1 3/4. Actually, while I have this out, I'm going to cut another piece, and this piece is going to measure 1 1/4 by 4. So I'm flipping it around because I know I'm going to want to use this pattern for this particular piece. Now I'm taking a scrap piece of early espresso, and I'm going to cut this down to measure 1 by 7/8. And the 7/8 is the little line right next to the 2. Well, almost next to the 2. So I'm going to cut that down. And then I'm going to flip it around and cut it at 1. And this little piece, my friends, does the magic, if you can imagine. So I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus. Alright, I'm actually going to have to cut another one of these, but I will come back to that. So this piece I'm going to put on this flap right there. Just like so. And then how this is going to look, my friends, is this is going to glue onto here, and this is going to glue onto there. Okay? Okay, so I'm cutting out another piece of designer series paper. This is 1 1/4 by 4. And I actually want this pattern to show because that I'm going to put on this panel right here. I'm going to bring in my piercing mat. I've got my 5 1/4 by 4-inch piece of Whisper white cardstock. I have my Peaceful Boughs stamp set, and the beautiful dies that coordinate with this are Beautiful Boughs. So let's start stamping, and I'm going to stamp this with Garden Green, and I'm taking my early espresso marker. I'm using the bold size, so where there's a thick line, that means that this is the bold end of the marker, and where there's the thin line, this is the journal tip of the marker. So I'm using the bold. And I'm going right on top of that green with my early espresso marker so that my branches are brown, not green. Crazy, I know. Alright, so I'm going to stamp this right here. See? Isn't that cool? I'm going to do it again. If you ever can't get your stamps off, because our cling really do cling, take your pick tool, and it's got this really cool blunt end. We've had really hot days and very muggy. When I say hot, I mean 44 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is Fahrenheit, but it's been really hot, and I've been noticing that my stamps are sticking to my cases more than ever, and I'm convinced it's because of the heat and the humidity. So if they're really sticking, all you want to do is just take this little edge and it'll just pry up your stamp, and then you're not ruining your stamp when you're pulling it to get it off your case. Next step is I'm going to cut out a little rectangle here for my expression, and for the expression I'm using the beautiful Dove of Hope stamp set. I'm using the Peace, Joy, and Love. So I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine using the stitched rectangle dies. I'll be right back. Okay, this is the die that I use from the stitched rectangle dies, and I'm just going to pop it out. And then I've got my little opening. And now I have a piece of scrap real red cardstock. And I'm going to take my Peace, Joy, and Love, and I'm going to stamp that with Versamark, and I'm going to emboss it in white. Now this piece is going to go right behind there, and then I can just trim off this excess. So I think what I'm going to do is just take some of my tear and tape, simply because it's nice and narrow to get in that little spot. So I've got this glued onto my card base now. I just used the Stampin' Seal. So now I'm going to add the sentiment right in here, and I want this flap to kind of hide it. So what I'm going to do is going to take my pencil and very lightly draw a line, and then I'm going to put this on here and also just draw a little line right there with my pencil. So I know that I want it to be not past this line here, and this just gives me a guide so that I know that this is about here. So even though my sentiment's going to be a little bit lower, we're still going to see it, but I just wanted that as an extra guideline. So let me grab my stamp and close that. Whoops, you can see I still had some ink on there. Oh, that's okay. And I'm gonna stamp it probably 3 times just to make sure it's really nice and dark. There. So I'm just gonna set that aside, and then I'll come back and erase the pencil. Now while I still have my early espresso ink, I'm gonna pull in the Dove of Hope, and this is the image that I'm going to stamp. Now I am going to emboss this in clear, and our dye ink does dry pretty much immediately. There's kind of like a few seconds gap, and it also depends on how much ink you have on your ink pad. I know that I've recently re-inked this ink pad, so there's a lot of ink on this early espresso. So it's going to stay wet just long enough for me to put on a bit of my embossing powder. So I'm stamping my Dove. Don't know where my spoon is. Put on that clear, and my powder is on there, so I'm just going to set that with the heat tool. Okay, so I'm gonna start coloring in this little bird. Now on this Designer Series paper, there's actually Old Olive mixed in with the Garden Green. I did not use any Old Olive on these stamps, and I want to pull some of that color in. So I'm just going to add some Old Olive with my marker to the little branch. And now I'm going to bring in my Real Red marker for the berry. I love how Stampin' Up! Colors coordinate so beautifully. And I'm going to take my basic black marker and color in his beak. And lastly, I'm taking my clear Wink of Stella, and I'm just going to do a wash right over this image. And that's why I wanted to emboss it in clear, so that the ink doesn't smudge when I add my clear Wink of Stella. And this is going to add a beautiful shimmer. Super nice. So we have coordinating dies that go with the Dove of Hope set. I'm going to go in and cut this out. Alright, so there is my beautiful dove. I am smitten with the Dove of Hope bundle. So now I want to erase this pencil. I have already gone ahead and die cut these from the beautiful Boughs collection. So this is part of the Peaceful, it coordinates with the Peaceful Boughs stamp set. So I just used Garden Green cardstock, and then I've already done my pine cone. So I cut the base with Early Espresso and then the outline with Crumb Cake, and then I sponged glue on the back of this intricate die cut and glued it on. And now what I want to do is take my First Mark ink pad, and I'm just ever so slightly going to brush on the edges of these branches, and then I'm going to add some white embossing powder, and then that will be the snow on this. In fact, I'm going to do a little bit on my pine cone too. Okay, so I have my pine boughs and my pine cone all embossed. Everything's ready. So now I'm just going to finish my card. So what I'm going to do now is add the mechanism that makes this dove pop up. It's called a wiper card because it's like it's wiping, like windshield wipers. All right, so here's my little piece of early espresso cardstock. So just as a reminder, this measures 1 by 1 7/8. So all I'm going to do is fold this corner down to the side. Here's what we do to make this card magical. So I'm folding that triangle on the left side down, not the right side down. So fold that triangle on the left side down, add a couple of magical glue dots. Got my little folds over here. I'm going to turn this over, and on this second fold is where I'm going to put this. I'm going to line up this tip pretty much to the top center of this second panel. Okay, so we've got the triangle here, I've got the tip up on the top, and then this piece folds over towards this end crease. Okay, so we've got that. Then I'm going to take my little strip of window sheet and I'm going to put a glue dot behind that window sheet. I'm going to put 2 on there. I really want this to stick. I'm going to put that behind my bird. Then I'm going to take another glue dot and put it on the front of this window sheet. And this goes right behind, like so. And I have that little bit right on top, so I'm just going to trim that down a little bit. Taking my Stampin' Seal Plus, and I'm just putting a little bit on this edge, and I'm going to adhere it to the bottom of my card. Once you do one of these, you guys, it's so easy. And now I'm folding this flap over because I'm going to add adhesive here. Okay, and then that goes flush like that. So then when your card is closed, which we'll finish decorating this in a minute, but when you open it, holy mackerel, that's so cool. Okay, so now I'm gonna finish decorating. So I'm gonna take these pieces, take my silicone mat and my liquid glue. Putting these on, you wanna make sure that you're not coming out too far past your card because it won't fit in your envelope otherwise. And I'm gonna put this one on with the dimensional. Put that right here, so it's also covering that little bit of dimensional I just put on. And then this ribbon bow I have made from our new Real Red 3/8 inch sheer ribbon, and I'm going to put that on with a glue dot. So I have another piece of Whisper White that measures 5 1/4 by 4. I'm going to take my Real Red, and then the sentiment is from Dove of Hope as well, which reads, "May your season be filled with all the wonder and blessings of Christmas." And I'm just going to do that in Real Red. And of course you can decorate this piece as much as your heart desires. Stick that on the back so you can sign your message. Tuck that guy down a little bit. You could put another sprig over here if you want to, just to hide things a little bit more. I'll show you the first card that I did. Now I do have more embellishments and more pine cones, but I just wanted to keep it simple for you today, just to show you how to make this card. So we've got that, and then here's the original one I made. If you've never tried making one of these wiper cards, friends, give it a whirl. I know you're going to enjoy it, and it really is a simple card to make. And I hope that you found my tutorial easy to follow and simple, and have fun making these wiper cards at home. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Happy stamping!